I'm Chandrea Thomas, and welcome to episode 10 of Intrigued Full Effect. This is a special update edition. In this podcast, I talk about curious cases, disappearances, and other stuff. And today, I have a major update on my first curious case. It was about 3-year-old Zaela Walker, who was thought to be kidnapped and has been missing from North Las Vegas, Nevada since August 15th of 2018. She was 2 years old at the time. In the original podcast, I had an exclusive interview with her mother, Lakeia Walker, who spoke out for the first time publicly about the case and the wild 4-month-long road trip she took with Zaela's father, Ricky Beasley, after her daughter disappeared. I also reached out to Ricky Beasley for a jailhouse interview at the time, but I got turned down. So this is what I know as of this podcast. According to North Las Vegas police, on March 15th, 2019, both Ricky and Lakeia were charged with first-degree murder in Zaela's case. Lakeia was arrested on the 15th, and Ricky's charges were upgraded. He's been in jail since December 1st of last year. Another thing I want to say is that since my last podcast on this case, a couple of people in Ricky's circle reached out to me saying that he wanted to talk. So I tried again, and police said he was free to talk to me, and at that point, I gave one family member a number for him to call me, but he never did. I also spoke to Carla Walker, Lakeia's mother, right after her daughter was arrested, and she said, quote, "I never ruled Lakeia out of the mix when it came to her involvement in Zaela's disappearance. If she's wrong, she's wrong. All I want to know at this point is, where is Zaela?" End quote. Carla is still holding on to hope that the story about Zaela being with someone is still true, especially since a body has never been found. I can't stop thinking of this video the family gave me of Zaela. You can see she's full of life and energy, and it's hard to imagine her in any other way.
Hi, Mommy.
Hi, Mommy.
I love you.
I love you.
I miss you.
I miss you.
After getting final confirmation from police on what they believe happened to Zaela, I wanted to compare some of what they had to what I got from Lakeia during my interview. First, I'll read details from the press release I received from North Las Vegas police, then I'll get into some comparisons. Here are the details from the police. On August 21st, 2018, Ricky was allegedly watching Zaela at his home when she wet her pants during the night. A witness alleges that Ricky became angry and took Zaela into the bathroom to give her a shower. And that's the last time anyone besides the suspects saw Zaela. On August 22nd, Ricky is suspected of doing a series of Google searches on how to stop seizures in children. According to witnesses, it was suspected that Ricky, Lakeia, and Zaela disappeared that same night. They're also suspected of abandoning their iPhones, IDs, and bank cards, then allegedly drove to a remote area near Kyle Canyon Road. Based on what I saw on my Google Maps search, it looks like a remote desert area. Afterwards, they secretly headed to Southern California without notifying their families. Police say over the next few weeks, they drove up and down the California coast, then east across the U.S. through Illinois, West Virginia, Florida, New Mexico, and Texas, and they also stopped in Tijuana. Then on September 23rd, on the way back from Mexico, the couple was stopped by Border Patrol. That's because they, along with Zaela, were reported missing. They told police that Zaela was with family. After getting back into the U.S. through California, they went to Houston where they worked and stayed in a hotel. Then on November 16th, while in Houston, they were stopped by police once again. A side note is that Lakeia told me during my interview that they were stopped because they were in a car that was reported stolen. Just a side note on that. They were released soon after. On November 30th, police asked the public for information in the case. And on December 1st, 2018, Ricky and Lakeia were spotted at a casino in North Las Vegas, and Ricky tried to run but was captured, while Lakeia cooperated with police, still saying that Zaela was with family and she hadn't seen her in months. At that point, Ricky was charged with child abuse and kidnapping. Whew, there's a lot happening here. Over the last few months of this year, detectives have had several interviews with Lakeia, including a polygraph with the FBI, and they said she failed it. Meanwhile, Lakeia told me in her interview that she passed her lie detector test. I'm sure people are wondering this question. Did you go willingly? Were you afraid? Why did you take this road trip with him? Were you just in love with him and you just felt like you needed to do that? I'm sure there's a lot of wonder as to how you, in your mind, how you were processing this whole trip all the way from California to New Jersey.
At first, it was me getting on the road to get Zaela. I didn't care about nothing. My whole mindset was getting on the road to get Zaela. When that plan had changed and he wanted to do the New Jersey thing, my whole mindset with that was, okay, let me just go ahead and do this, get him New Jersey. I get back to Vegas, I get Zaela, and then I'm cool. My whole mindset on this whole road trip was just me getting Zaela back, working with him to get her back. I have strong feelings for him and everything like that. I don't think of him as a bad person. I feel like as of right now, his actions are bad. It's no way explaining what he's doing right now because it's real simple. You just have to tell where Zayla is and you get out of jail. But you rather sit in jail instead of tell her where she's at. And then you have people thinking that you're protecting me, but I know for a fact you're not protecting me. So it's like, who are you protecting and what's going on?
Investigators and the Clark County District Attorney's Office concluded that both parents should be charged in connection with the disappearance, murder, and disposal of Zayla's body. And here's something. Investigators also say that Lakeia gave them information to indicate that Zaela wasn't alive, saying that she and Ricky were working on their relationship and that they didn't want to complicate things by bringing Zaela back into their lives. The release then goes on to say that Lakeia also made no attempt to see or speak with Zaela on her third birthday. This is what she told me when I asked her about trying to reach her child. And yet, in all this time period, you never got a phone call. Did you ever, ask, hey, can I talk to her on the phone?
I was asking, I asked so many times. I would ask them, could they send a picture? Can I talk to her? You could say every day I was either, for the first part of the road trip, I was asking for at least pictures of Zaela to at least talk to her. I wanted to call my mom. But he was real stingy with his phone. I'll ask him about the pictures. Or did they send you the pictures yet? He was like, oh no, nobody sent me a picture, but she's good. She's playing with the kids right now.
So you get back to Nevada. Ricky gets arrested. You don't get arrested, but Ricky does.
Yeah.
Okay. So at that point, what happens? Are you worried if your daughter is alive? Are you scared for her safety? Do you have any clue about who truly has her?
No.
What is going on in your mind when it comes to Zaela?
I didn't start worrying until he got arrested, because he got the kidnapping charges is because only thing he had to do was make sure that the person that he was emailing gave me Zaela. That's all he had to make sure, like with that situation, and he wouldn't do that.
At this point, from what you understand, any clue about who may have your daughter, about what's happening with her, about where she may be? Do you have any indication whatsoever about any of that right now?
Not right now.
According to police, Lakeia also volunteered information that the trunk of the car they were driving reeked and smelled like rotten meat, adding that she and Ricky cleaned the trunk by vacuuming and using lemon-scented ammonia to get rid of the stench. Detectives do believe the description of the smell corresponds with the smell of a decaying body. Investigators ultimately concluded that Zaela suffered from an unknown traumatic health-related injury resulting in her death. When I spoke to Lakeia, it was clear that she was in love with Ricky. So it makes you wonder, was she so in love with him that she would do anything for him? I want to understand this relationship you have or had with Ricky. It sounds like it was toxic, abusive at times, according to reports that I've seen too. I just want to know, where was your mind at in thinking that you were okay in that situation? Or did you feel like you were so in love with this man that you just kind of went along for the ride and hoped that everything would work out? I want to wrap my head around where your head was at that time.
I just, besides that, the times of the whole physical altercation, like the whole time on the road trip, Ricky was not mean. He was like extra nice. He wanted to hold hands. He wanted to open doors and stuff like that. Always make sure I eat and all that stuff, whatever. He was real like genuine. Like the whole time of this whole road trip, only thing I can say that for sure he was doing was lying and being very manipulative, but I didn't know that he was lying or being manipulative.
Lakeia's story about the trip seemed to be in line with what police have in their release. However, she didn't say anything about the trunk smelling like rotten meat or that she helped Ricky clean the trunk with ammonia to get rid of the smell. My final thoughts about this case are that it's just horrific to think that little Zaela is out there somewhere all alone. At what point will her parents tell police where she is? If Lakeia knows where Zaela is, will her time in jail force her to give up that information? As for the families, I can only imagine the devastation on both sides, especially if the crime the parents are accused of is proven to be true in a court of law. When it all comes down to it, the question still remains, where is Zaela? I can only hope that answer comes soon and that the people affected by this case can get some closure. I also wonder, what was the road trip really about? Were they running from the reality of what allegedly happened? And Lakeia's statement to police about not wanting to bring Zaela back into their lives because it could complicate things, that was shocking too. There are so many questions to be answered in this complicated and strange story, and I'm sure there's a lot more to come with this case, and I will give you updates as soon as I get them in. Right now, both Lakeia and Ricky are in custody at the Clark County Detention Center, and so far there's no word on a bond. I'm told that Ricky's next court date is set for March 19th. If you have any cases that you want me to check out, just message me on the Intrigued Full Effect website or via email at intriguedfulleffect@hotmail.com. Until next time, be safe and stay true. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the Intrigued Full Effect, Curious Cases, Disappearances, and Other Stuff podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the host. The primary purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. The host of this podcast assumes no liability or responsibility for any activities in connections with opinions shared in the podcast. The podcast and blog associated with it shall not be used in any legal capacity or as a basis for expert testimony. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or blog. This podcast uses copyrighted materials that were fully authorized by the owner. Music by Pond 5.